Really good.
For those of you that do not know, I'm Heather Carricker, and I'm excited to be joined by our staff, some of our partners, some SEED20 coaches, SEED20 alumni. So it's really exciting to have everybody joining us this evening. I'm the Associate Director at Social Venture Partners and Program Manager for SEED20. Just a couple of quick housekeeping items as we get started. We will place everyone on mute. I think Kristen's been working on that to eliminate some background noise, but please feel free to unmute yourselves to contribute to the conversation or ask questions. You can also ask questions in the chat feature. You can ask the entire group if you'd like, just by selecting everyone, or you can message me or Kristen back directly for any questions that you may want to ask anonymously. We will be recording this event to share with those that are not able to attend, and just for future information as well for the SEED20 program. So, as you know, SVP volunteers and staff and this year's SEED20 participants worked very quickly to shift our traditional SEED20 OnStage event to SEED20 online. We had just wrapped up our in-person coaching sessions and selection nights and selected the 10 to present on stage. So we are very thankful to everyone that helped in the effort to make our first and hopefully only virtual SEED20 a success. So a huge thank you to everybody that helped us with that. And for tonight, we're excited to have the SEED20 online winners joining us this evening. I haven't looked to see, so Kristen, maybe you can help me out on this as well. Do we know if we have Reggie joined us yet? I was going to let them each introduce themselves as we got started.
Yeah, I was going to I'm having trouble getting him, but I don't see him online yet.
Okay, no worries. So we do have Reggie McNeil from Transforming Youth Movement. We also have Kim April from Feeding Charlotte with us. We have Charlie Petrizzo from Project to Heal and Jose Alvarez. So a huge congratulations again to them as our SEED20 winners for 2020. I would like, if we can, while we're waiting on Reggie, if we can check in with Kim and just have maybe Kim, then Charlie, then Jose to share just kind of their role, their organization, and the mission of their organization to kick us off.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Kim April with I'm one of the founders of Feeding Charlotte. There are two other founders who are on this call as well, Mendy Godwin and Sue Hawes. We're the three founders of Feeding Charlotte. And our mission is to relieve hunger while reducing waste by connecting surplus, freshly prepared meals to those experiencing food insecurity. So we've had to do a little bit of a major shift in that lately, but I can probably talk about that later.
All right, Charlie had a puppy on here earlier, so we'll see if he's still on.
Hi, everyone. My name is Charlie Petrizzo. I'm the president and founder of Project Heal. Project to Heal was created in 2005 to reduce the cost and time model where the dogs we breed have shown generations of outstanding temperament and intelligence. And then we follow a model of nurture that makes sure that puppies receive to the right things at the right time, and also to teach them to love learning and that begins at about 2 weeks of age.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. It is an absolute pleasure. Thank you for this opportunity once again. Again, Jose Alvarez with Prosper, North Carolina. I am the Vice President for North Carolina Operations. Prosper is an organization that has 3 years in Florida. And about 6 years ago, it started a national expansion, and it picked North Carolina, specifically Charlotte, to open its first shop out of Florida. Been with the organization for more than 10 years, for 11 years. In culture, in language, support, and consulting to Latino immigrants who are in the process of becoming entrepreneurs. So we help startups or already established businesses.
Great, thank you. So we have a few questions to kind of guide the conversation this evening, but we'll have plenty of time at the end as well for overall group questions, anything that you want to experience or kind of any additional questions for the organization. We'll save a lot of time at the end for that. So I'm just going to kind of jump right in. I'm going to wait for Kristen to wave madly at me if we see Reggie join us. To that, yeah, okay. So if you don't mind just keeping an eye out for him, and then we'll bring him on board as soon as possible. So the first question that I have for you, and I actually reached out to a few of our SVP partners to ask, you know, what would you like to know from our SEED20 winners, especially moving to this online platform? What would you like to know from them? What do you want to know more about for the organization? So the first one was what learn in the SEED20 program that you've been able to implement within your organization. And along with that, what has it meant for your organization to have been part of the SEED20 program? So there is no order. I'm not going to put anybody.
And I think Reggie is here too, Heather.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. So, hi, Reggie.
Hey, good evening. How are you?
I'm well. I'm well. Don't you just love technology?
Oh man, I tell you what, I get any better with the acceptance as I couldn't stand myself. How about that for you? Yeah. It's good to see you all together. I mean, I really have been looking forward to this all day, and I thought just for one more moment something would mess with me for my technology to fail me. But the humor, you know how it works.
I do. In just a moment, and explaining to this group a little bit more about what Transforming Youth Movement does.
So we are fortunate to organizations now. It's conclusion of 4 here in June. At this point, we operate in the space of 4 areas. Mentoring is one. Well, let me start with community service and restitution because that's one represented in Mecklenburg County. But that is a pro-social, interest-based, state legislative-driven, outside-of-the-box initiative to get kids acclimated with pro-social activities and interest-based, hopefully get them fulfilling their community service obligations, and then, oh, by the way, doing it in a way that we can expose them to their interests. Our whole organization is interest-based. Our mission is we exist to inspire positive and social change and community transformation through youth. We connect them to positive people and positive places. We have a year-long mentoring division. I won't break them all down very long, but we have a year-long mentoring division where we look for volunteers to connect with youth for a minimum of 8 hours a month. That's, you know, we take a survey on your interest and the kids' interest match. Once we you know, in play in that year-long process, we, in addition to our running once a month, to keep building on some of their skills like conflict resolution, self-awareness, and some other things. Thirdly, we have a vocational division. The program is called Get Hired. This is a program trying to get youth through a program where we are able to bring their what their skill sets are through a software called My Next Move. Once we do that, it gives us some percentage about where that kid would best fit based on some invested some skill sets, and then we're able to place them on a career path towards their interest, if that makes sense. And lastly, we do some placement. In Cabarrus County, we're connected with Pinnacle. Pinnacle allows for us to do placement with youth who have had some adverse situations, traffic, some misplacement, and some abuse, etc. So we started in 2016 when we got our articles of incorporation. A year later, we had a 501c3. I'm sorry, in 2014, and then 2015 we got our articles of incorporation, and then 1c3 the following year, and then launched programs in 2016. So that's a lot, but we've been doing a lot, and we're continuing to do a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. All right, the rest of you three, Reggie bought you some time to question. So I'll go back over it really quickly, but just what skill learned in the program have you been able to implement within your organization? And also maybe what has it meant for your organization after being on the other side of having gone through the SEED20 program? And Reggie, I shared with the order, I'm not putting anybody in the hot seat. So just feel free to fire away, and I'll continue our conversation with a few extra questions as well.
So
Oh, go ahead, Reggie.
Go ahead, April. Go ahead, April.
Okay, I was going to say, I think the biggest takeaway for me was the importance of storytelling. And so ever since SEED20, we've kind of taken storytelling into each thing we do now. If we're writing a press release, if we're trying to talk to somebody about a new partnership, we're now approaching it from the aspect of storytelling. So whereas before we might have just explained our mission, exactly what we do and why, those personal stories in there, like we sort of did in our pitch. So that I've found gets people a little bit more excited and passionate about what we do. So we're just taking that storytelling into everything we do now. So that's the main takeaway for me, and it meant so much to our organization to have this platform, and now to be recognized by more people, more individual donations, things like that. A lot of good has come from it.
Great, thank you for sharing.
And I can go next. So one of the so I'm gonna give you a little bit of a long answer. So when I first moved, because I was transferred from South Florida to open this office in the summer of 2017, I had to do a lot of research about the market. So I found out about SEED20 then in the fall of 2017. I told my boss about it, but I was just by myself opening the office, so I didn't have any other help. So I was doing a lot of the the consulting sessions, the one-on-ones, the seminars and workshops, fundraising, a lot of public speaking. My boss told me, hey, listen, once you are able to hire an employee, you'll be able to delegate some tasks, and so you can focus on this. So I was really looking forward to it. So 3 years later, I was able to get into the program, and I was actually looking for 3 big things that got me curious. Believe it or not, the last one, I mean, the money is nice, so don't get me wrong, I mean, but that was the last thing that I was interested in. The first thing that I wanted to work on was my delivery. I'm really comfortable with public speaking in my own language, but I'm double handicapped because English is second language. So I really wanted to do this in front of a big audience because I wanted to push myself. And I wanted to get the feedback from professionals and from fellow organizations. So that was the first thing that I was looking for. The other thing I was looking for is precisely what we're doing right now. I was really curious about the partners. Yeah, SVP was nice, the SEED20 thing, but I wanted to find out about who each one of you were, because I was just curious about it. So, and I was curious about as to why you're supporting all these small nonprofits. And I wanted to pick your brain and learn from you and my fellow cohort participants. So, and obviously the last thing was the grand prize. But I was really, in terms of how I've been able to use this, what I learned from SEED20, like I said, I have to do a lot of public speaking, especially in Spanish, most now, you know, I get to go to Raleigh and talk to a lot of legislators, senators. I have to sometimes speak in front of other English-speaking audiences. But I was terrified when I had to do that. And so I was really looking forward to this. And my mentors were amazing. I learned mostly how to get ready before I had to get a couple of, or two or three, the three main points that I wanted to get across. So even if it's speaking with just one person or 10 or 500 people, I'll just prepare myself and take notes and make sure I could improvise while speaking, that I could get my specific messages across. I don't have to stick to a script. So that's one of the things that I really benefited from learning this.
Thank you. And having won the Coaches Award, I would say you were successful in that, in showing that growth over the coaching sessions, for sure. That was our biggest piece of feedback on you. So congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you.
For me, it was definitely having to make a presentation within a prescribed time limit. Anybody who knows me would say that I can be verbose, both in my emails and in how I speak to people. I always add a lot of details. And so for me to be able to crunch into 3 minutes, that was very difficult. But as I came away from that and I kind of talked to, you know, board members or what else, you know, I trying to say, hey, do you have a 2-minute elevator speech? And is it prepared nicely in terms of the right order? Is there, you know, not an ask for money, but is there an ask for, hey, maybe we can follow up sometime. Here's my card or something like that. So for me, it really, truly was difficult. And my coaches helped me with this, but it was really, truly difficult to get in what I wanted to say in 3 minutes. And now if I'm crafting an email or something like that, I'm trying to hit the points that I made in my SEED20 presentation and leave it at that. What was odd was that my coach, and I know he's here, Tim Curran, we talked and he said that his 2 children were there. I guess they're college age, and they were watching, and they didn't know who Tim was partnered with. And when I was doing the presentation, there was some back and forth about whether or not the presentation should include what you're going to do with the money. And so, you know, I said, I think we really need to be crystal clear about what we're going to do with that money. So what I included was what we would do with the award specifically. And the other thing, which, you know, I ended with a question. And I forgot, it was like, how much is a life worth to you? How much is a life worth? And so my wife didn't think, now she, of course, my wife, she gets a lot of, you know, say in the matter. So she didn't think that I should ask the question, you know, and I heard that from a couple people. But when Tim asked his kids, you know, they actually picked Project to Heal, not knowing he was coaching me. But he said, I went back and I said, hey, Tim, tell me why. Ask them why. And he said, number one was that you were very explicit about what you were doing with the money. And number two, the question at the end kept them thinking. So it to me, of course, you know, the other thing that's great from this is that you get to meet so many people in the same world as you know, and so many people who go through the same frustrations every day, especially right now as it comes to fundraising. So that's what it was all about for me.
Charlie, I'd like to piggyback on that with one of the questions, which is, what connections have you made with the other members of the class of 2020? and other SEED20 alumni. So being in the same space with each other, having those same challenges as a nonprofit, you know, what are those connections that you found yourself making with the other 19?
Well, I'll tell you right off the bat, it's been very hard, actually, given this current situation, trying to get together with people. I mean, I've talked with both of my coaches online a couple times. Other than that, I have not been able to reach out. We actually, my trainers after the event went a couple times to that place where we got our pictures taken, the restaurant or whatever is the cafe.
Yeah, Community Matters, yeah.
So we were going down there. Monday is Veteran Day. And so we went down there with our puppies a couple times, Monday, and then this whole thing broke out, and then we lost contact. But I think that restaurant was a SEED20 candidate or SEED20 participant that started that place.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Yeah, it's good stuff. Oh, yeah, I could jump in. I actually, and here's the deal, guys, for you guys that, you know, I have sort of settled down. I actually was running and got a little bit trying to get the technology up. But first of all, I don't know, you know, jumping in and I'm on the what skills, ideas, suggestions, etc. You know, I had taken a little bit of time out today because I thought this was going to be a great opportunity for us to get this, you know, to share. And I wanted to say thank you guys to the SVP, you know, SEED20 Wells Fargo Group. This is an incredible experience and an investment that was made into us that, you know, I'll remember for the rest of my life. The real big part about the 3-minute pitch for me is that I personally wanted to prove to a lot of people I could, in fact, deliver a message in 3 minutes or less. And that was for those who think the long-windedness of it all. But seriously, in addition to that, the skills that I've learned along the way within this was that it's okay to take initiative. You know, even when you don't think you're the strongest person making those decisions within your team. When we started working together with my team, the first week was a little rocky. We didn't know, I mean, I didn't know who was supposed to do what. I'm assuming they were kind of giving some room for me to make some decisions. And finally, I ascended above in creating the space for the leadership and how the pace was to go, as opposed to thinking that I was just going to be dictated to. And so then that easily translated over. I was able to start allowing myself to trust the team even more because now my focus did become about this SEED20 experience. And so those things translated over well. I felt like one of my coaches was more like a fatherly or the sort of, hey, you know, that sort of, and then I had the nurturing piece and component in there with my other coach. And for me, it allowed for me to find space that it was okay to take your time, settle down, get a feel for understanding what it is that you want to come out of this. And by the way, you know, lead, and it's okay to do that. And so that was to your question number one. That was my takeaway, that, you know, it's okay to lead even when sometimes you don't feel like you're the most, you know, strongest, you know, person for that piece in your organization.
Heather, I can answer your question about how we've maybe partnered with some other participants.
Yeah.
Shortly after SEED20, we partnered with Brittany Holbert from Feed NC or Mooresville Soup Kitchen, another top 10 contestant, and we're the only two organizations there who deal with food. So we started providing the chef that she worked with some food from one of our partners, Pines at Davidson. So they were picking up some great nutritious food from there and feeding the people who came to Mooresville Soup Kitchen that food. So that was great. And I've had some conversations with Demi Clark personally about corporate fundraising and different ideas for that. So I feel like I've developed some really great relationships. Cynthia Wood, we talk a lot. So yeah, we're definitely all sort of helping each other out.
Yeah, we did too. I forget the young lady's name with the auditory books and all those things. We worked with her. I mean, our kids have been able to get invested in that. Kids have traveled all over the world because of the technology, and what this has now prompted us into that space. And then to your point with Demi Clark, we actually have kits that she helped create for us to use in some of our vocational skill building classes. So yeah, I'm actually excited about the possibility of doing collaborations in addition to all of you. I think that once we now have, I imagine all of us have kind of reset. I think that the 20 and beyond, this is the need investing into these collaborations. I think I look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So when you look at your, oh, I'm sorry, Jose, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say real quick, a couple of organizations that I had an initial conversation with Metrolina, Association for the Blind. We are working on an initiative here in Prospera, and we might do some work with them in the future in a couple of years. But it was great that I connected with her. And also Natalie Morles with El Puente Hispano, they're doing great work in Cabarrus County, and that's actually a targeted county for Prospera. So we are looking into doing something, activating some programming in that area through El Puente Hispano. So it was great.
Fantastic. So kind of switching gears a little bit and looking more at your organization, and Charlie, you made mention of this a little bit. We can't all sit here and pretend that this is our normal everyday operating for our organizations.
Yep.
So what does the new virtual world mean for your organization right now? And kind of how have you shifted or pivoted to what you need to do to be effective for your organization?
Well, I'll tell you, our biggest fundraiser, which makes up a bulk of our revenue, because we're a micro nonprofit. It looks like we're not going to be able to hold it because the country club that we do it at every year furloughed their event manager. And of course, for things like this, you need to plan ahead. And most of the revenue doesn't come from the golfers, it comes from the sponsors. So, and we usually reach out for the sponsors well in advance. But now, they're also, these sponsors, some of them may have been hurt economically as well and, wouldn't be able to sponsor us anyway. So we're trying to come up with an idea to replace it. And what we're looking at is, for those of you old enough to remember Jerry Lewis's telethon, we're looking at doing a pupathon using technology where we will have, so we help organizations across the United States. And a lot of our puppies have went on to be service dogs for people in North Dakota, Alaska, California. So we have a lot of stories there about our puppies. So what we're looking at, and the issue is going to be for us, how to coordinate all of these technical aspects of going live and doing something. But we're going to try to pull this together, and it will be us talking to recipients of our dogs. It will be us talking to the organizations we donate to. It will be short, because we're going to be live. We'll have the puppies out there playing for short periods as we go in and out. And we're trying to find some people that, as Jerry Lewis used to do, would come on and perform, whether they were a musician or a comedian, magician, whatever, and put those people throughout the day too. And, actually have like what I guess they call it a tote board, where you can see the numbers. And so what we're going to do for sponsors, we have a pretty darn good following. We're up to around $13,000 and $13,000 fans and growing. So we have a lot of fans out there. So we're going to try to get sponsorships where, like like a professional sports game, they read text on the advertiser, and then we put up there brand logo and their phone number and their website throughout the whole event. So at least we can get sponsors, but the goal is to try to get people to donate to make up for that money that we're not going to get from our golf outing. I mean, you know, it's tough. I mean, and I'm hoping that losing the golf outing for 1 year, you know, people say, oh, I'm not going, you know, because we get a lot of repeat golfers. I mean, I would say 75% of the people are return golfers. So, and of course, we always have an auction there. So there are auctions prior to the dinner, and so whatever money comes from that, we have to kind of think about or which way we're going to go. But you know, the good thing is that in all this madness, we have puppies, and people love to see puppies, and we've been letting people come. You know, we have 3 acres here, so it's very easy to social distance. And so we've been letting people come, like one person or family at a time, so that they can, you know, play with the puppies. And it's kind of like a family outing. But we really now have to figure out how long and if it's long, how are we going to change our model?
Yeah.
How
about the rest of you?
I would say for us, I mean, for us personally, honestly, without exception of, I wanted to hit the ground running to say, hey, this is a good opportunity to get behind us because of this event. In honesty, this ended up without, you know, with regard for life and all of those things, it opened up the entirety of the world for us. Our organization quickly adapted to Zoom. We instituted online trainings, moved all of our programming to the website so people could go onto our website, know where the programs were happening virtual online, so that now we opened it up to counties, across counties, as opposed to being in our own individual counties, because we're now currently in 4. We wanted to keep our mantra of the interest-based. Our organization looked for opportunities that would keep that mantra. We recognized and found a space in creative learning, in Creative Live, rather, to create is an interest-based learning deal where people could go on and learn everything from sales to, you know, mechanics and anything online within our mantra. It allowed for us to visit museums all around the world, take kids and do books and, you know, study for, you know, our organization will be stronger because of this, because, you know, we've got a lot of great people in our organization and a lot of them on this line. And I thank you guys, all of you that's out there watching. But, you know, for like anybody, certainly we were impacted by the need to adjust. But the adjustments that we've made, I think, have, you know, will make lasting impressions. And now I feel we could do this around the world as opposed to just doing what we do here in the local area. So really excited about that.
Thank
And
you.
for us, just to piggyback on that, also, you know, we were forced, you know, for the past at least 20 years, we've been receiving a lot of requests. Hey, can you guys provide your trainings online? So we were finally forced to. We actually made an investment and we purchased WebEx. So we activated that in each office in all of our 4 markets, 3 in Florida and the 1 here. And so we, you know, for the past 2 months, we've been offering all the trainings and all the one-on-one consultations virtually. We were very nervous because Latinos, you know, they usually look for, it's a cultural thing. They look for, okay, I'm gonna make an appointment with you. I need to touch you. So, but thank goodness, you know, our demographic understood what's happening. And so we have been offering all this virtually. Even we activated our contingency plan, at least for my market, for this market here, we've been working 7 days a week. So we've been offering a lot of this one-on-one, especially a lot of desperate people with businesses, not speaking English, trying to figure out what the PPP program is or what the Mecklenburg County's micro-lending program is. So we've been there for them. So in a way, we've been able to accompany these people being more available to them virtually.
I love that. That is, yeah, that's great. I love it.
And we've been making it work with Zoom and conference calls for all our networking, but
Same.
our organization in general has actually had to do a complete 180 during this time because we were dealing with surplus food and rescuing it. And now suddenly there wasn't any surplus food because most of our food donor partners had closed their doors. We got the majority of our food prior to this from universities and colleges. And when they all shut their doors, we had to quickly figure out how we were going to get food to our recipient partners. And so basically we did a complete 180. And now instead of rescuing leftover food, we're basically partnering with caterers to make food specifically for our partners. So that's a huge change for one, because prior to this, we had basically not a lot of overhead. And now we're basically paying the caterers back for the food they make for us, which is a win-win for everybody because that's allowing them to keep some of their employees on and their catering business up and running. And there's one caterer, QC Catering, that was able to take employees off of furlough just to make food for us. But again, we have to pay them back for the food they make for us. So now suddenly we were in a situation where we had to really start raising a lot of money quickly. So we were doing some, giving campaigns, social media campaigns, things like that to quickly raise this money that we didn't previously need. So but it's been working so far. We've been able to provide all of our recipient partners with the same, if not more, food than they were previously getting. And it's actually been amazing. But so it's a little bit away from our mission of rescuing food for this point in time. I mean, obviously we'll get back to that, and then hopefully these partnerships that we've made with these caterers will last, and they will eventually give us their rescued food when they're back in business. But it's been interesting.
That's a really smart way, though, to develop those relationships, granted under a condition you wouldn't have expected, but it's a really great way to develop those relationships while you have that opportunity. I want to save some time for anybody that has questions, but I want to ask you one more thing directed from me, and that is, very quickly, if you could tell us one thing that what one piece of advice would you have for the class of 2021?
I can go first. Before I say this, let me see. Harrison, I just have to make this comment, man. I've been distracted by your China in the background. I love it. Oh, wait, I thought I'd say that. So what recommendation do I provide? Like I mentioned, don't the next cohort. Don't make it about the money. Just make it about the experience. Try to learn as much as possible from your coaches and all your contacts that you're gonna make the wonderful organizations. I think I don't want to sound like I'm kissing up or anything, but the SEED20 program, I think you guys got it right. You focus the whole thing on the individual, because and the individual is the one who makes the mission of the nonprofit possible. So the money's great, but at the end of the day, you need to have a good human being doing the work of the organization and putting all the heart to it. I mean, the money will come. I mean, if you have this person, first of all, a good human being doing it, and second of all, with skills. Public speaking is an important skill in this. So I think I would recommend that to the next cohort. Don't make it about the money. Just make it about you, the contacts you're gonna make it about the partners, and take it from there.
Thank you.
I'll go next.
Lady, there you go.
Oh my gosh, I always do that to you, Reggie. I'm sorry. Okay, so
ladies first. No, ladies first. I was yielding.
Okay, well, my advice for the class of 2021 would be to utilize your coaches and classmates as much as they are willing. Some are more willing than others. I had the most amazing coaches. I can't even, and so one of my coaches came out and to see what we did one day in our organization, and came to meet one of our recipient partners with us and hear her story. And she was the one we ended up using in the pitch to talk about her story a little bit. But that kind of solidified for him that that was the right idea, that we should use her in the pitch, that she was definitely the right person. But I would also say that you're going to get a lot of feedback. Feedback is all amazing. You should, after each time you do your pitch, you should take it all to heart, change some stuff around. But if it starts feeling like it's taking you away from your passion or what you wanted to talk about, you know, take it to heart, but also don't veer too far from the passionate thing that you want to talk about. So that's my only advice. Just utilize everybody. Try to practice your pitch with classmates. I did that a lot. Before we would go in and do it, we'd practice on each other, and just have a lot of fun.
Yeah, that part. Charlie, you next? Is that what that means, or the diamond? All right, boom. So here's my version is this. What I learned about this and from this was I learned who I am more than I thought I knew before I entered into this. I learned why I do what I do, and I learned why it would be important for investors like anyone on this call or anywhere else around the world would want to invest in our organization because of the passion of the people that we have, the processes that we create, and how quickly we adapt with protocol. In addition to that, I would share with anybody in the class of 2021 or next, you know, in the future is trust yourself. Know what you got into this for. Believe in yourself, regardless of how it feels when pressure is coming your way or what people are saying. And then once you believe in yourself, know that no matter what the outcome, what you do matters. Whether another dollar comes from this or not, it's because you were passionate, you decided this mattered to the world around you. And in spite of anybody's input, when you leave this, have the experience of this opportunity of collaborations, but you're a winner because you even got there and put yourself in front of folk at risk. It's the hilariousness of it all.
All right. So I do want to save enough time for Q&A, but I also want to take a quick moment. Reggie, you kind of opened with this when you joined us, of just taking a quick moment to thank our sponsors for SEED20 2020. They stuck with us through the transition to virtual so that we were able to provide prize money not only to our winners for this class, but as well as additional prize money to all of the class of 2020 this year. So a huge thank you to them. And Wells Fargo that stuck by our side for a lot more years than just this one. So a huge thank you to them as well. At this time, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen. And you can, just as a reminder, you can unmute yourself as needed to ask any questions that you wish. And I'm going to start checking my little chat box down here. And we'll be good to go. Not everybody at once.
So anybody even we can ask questions?
Oh yeah.
I have a question for Kirsten and Heather. Where are you getting these coaches and partners? Man, I need to get me a couple of these to be a part of my board of directors.
Now we could probably make that happen too, but so our coaches are actually collectively made up of Social Venture partners, so our volunteers that are part of that membership organization, but also they are community volunteers, those that have high interest in nonprofit work and just really like the time frame of this being like a set time that they're going to work with these nonprofits. And, you know, we kind of rope them in with, it's only like 6 to 8 weeks for this program. And then what happens is they usually fall in love with all of you. And as you've seen, it's really hard to shake them afterwards. But yeah, so we've got a collective group, and oftentimes they come from employers or employees of our sponsors as well. So we offer that opportunity up for our sponsors as well.
Yeah,
So
I know that.
The other-
Heather, you know, the code, that's code for, yeah, it's just a couple of weeks, and then once they fall in love with the mission, then you got them. So
yeah.
Hey, Jose, the other thing I was going to share is there is no better source than referrals of returning coaches. So that is a question when our coaches come through the process. We always, just like we did a participant survey for the class, we do a coaches survey as well. And one of the questions we ask is, can you give us the name of anyone else that you think would be a great coach? And we've just been so blessed that number one, we get a high number of returning coaches. So all of you should have gotten, had the benefit of somebody who's done this before. And our coaches, they fall in love with you, and they fall in love with the program, and they're eager to tell their friends and other professionals that they think would be a good fit.
yeah, if you have people involved that who love philanthropy, that's it. I mean, that's awesome. Let me just say, Henry Lander is a partner. I had a couple of conversations with him, and he's going to volunteer to be a speaker for our training sessions. So that's how he's starting the relationship with Prospera. So for me, that was a win.
So I have a question. Seeing that we've now, connecting the dots and having our organization having a keen focus on pro-social activities and interests, we're wanting to have every young person come in our organization in the future and have an interest that could connect with any one of these 20 or any of the other partners, and/or we grow the investment to the $1 billion that would need to be had for all of the interests of every kid across all of the country, so that we can start investing in a program that can meet the needs of community for real, and then grow on that expeditiously. So how do you guys see a vision for really this becoming a collaboration of ongoing partnerships to develop that, so that I can ensure that our based organization can be met their needs by any one of these partners, and then outside of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, great question. Do any of our SVP partners, or Kristen, you want to field that one?
I mean, I think one of the things that we believe in powerfully is trying to find activities and ways and a platform for you all to communicate with each other. So right now, our primary way to do that is through the closed SEED20 Facebook group. But, sharing information or getting permission to share contact information with each other, the new Partnering With You series, the education platforms where you can come and share ideas, and I'm struggling with this. Is anybody else struggling with this? Or I have some people who want to serve in this way. Does anybody need 10 teenagers to do X, Y, or Z, right? I mean, I think we play the role of connector there.
Right.
Right. Because it's a big job,
right?
But everybody needs something different from the group. But the cool thing is that the group has there's over 150 organizations in our SEED20 alumni right now. So, there's something for everyone, and to find the right match, you can always reach out and call us too and say, hey, do you know of any organizations that do this, or this? And chances are we've got somebody, from previous years that we can connect you with.
Yes, that part. Yeah.
Yes. And Kristen, I would just add to that too, Reggie, we are constantly looking for ways. We have a SEED20 alumni network that you've kind of seen a little bit through the Facebook page that Kristen mentioned. And it's also just providing additional opportunities for you all to connect. And it may be around a key topic area. Right now in this virtual world, a lot of those meetings used to be in person where you would get to see each other's faces. But right now in this virtual world, it is coming through with that Partnering With You. And I think this year's class set up like some different meetup group thing that you guys have going on that I've been super impressed with. But, I think people are finding the way to stay connected. And as Kristen mentioned, she and I are always here for you. So it's, we have a lot of knowledge, at least about what each one of the organizations does. So we can answer that for you anytime.
So yeah, don't be surprised when all you guys get that worksite agreement, because I guarantee you there's a kid going to come out that's going to have a need from every or any one of you. So thank you for that in advance.
Absolutely.
And nonprofits always need volunteers,
That
right?
part of life. I need them all over the place and all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Does anybody have any more questions? Do you guys have questions for our panelists?
I'd be curious from some ticket holders or sponsors that are here, how the virtual event, you know, I know we were all disappointed that we couldn't be at the night theater, but I'd love to hear just general reaction to the format, and if there was any surprises about the format or anything that you want us to take away for next time, if there is a next time for that. Or send it to us in a chat or an email if you're not brave enough to say it out loud.
Or send it anonymously to me and I'll cry alone. No, just kidding. So the other thing would be, you know, there are some coaches on this call, and I'm not going to call them out unless they make me, but we've talked a lot about the coaches. You've heard a lot about the coaches. They referred back to them quite a bit. You know, what has really, you know, that relationship that you've continued with these nonprofits, what do you expect to see from those nonprofits, like for following up with you as a donor, as a volunteer, as a coach? Like, what would you hope to see from those organizations as a donor, or, you know, especially during this virtual time?
That's a tough one because everyone is struggling right now, personally and professionally. And so, you know, we're all trying to figure out how we can help one another. And, you know, it's honestly the biggest struggle we've had is what can we do? Well, you know, how do you make sure that you're taking care of everything at home, everything at the office, and how do you make a difference for other people at such a tough time? But one thing I do know, and I learned this a long time ago, is when you're going through a tough time like this pandemic, you know, people tend to start to feel bad and sad, and the only way you can pull yourself out of it is by helping others. The only way you're going to help yourself is help other people. So the challenge, I think, is honestly, and this sounds kind of sappy, but it's how do you get yourself out of your own wallowing so you can focus on other people? Because once you start focusing on other people, it will make you get better. So that's the challenge Lynn and I talk about every day is what can we do it'll come back to us, you know?
Yeah, thank you, Tim.
That's my coach, and I agree 100%.
Yes, yes, exactly. So I have a request to turn the question around that I posed, which is, what do the nonprofit participants expect out of their coaches during this time and in the future? Having developed that relationship, I would assume.
Honesty, you know, I think maybe sometimes there's, I don't want to say a fear, but there's maybe a hesitation for a coach, and this didn't happen in my
I was going to say, you better not be calling me out because I told you what I think, so don't.
Not happen in mine. I would think that, you know, they have to listen to the coach. The coach has to be positive. You know, and the coach has to say the truth. And as far as I would say, and this is what Tim, his wife, and Evelyn, my other coach, did. They actually came to see the work.
Yeah.
And I think it gives a different perspective. I mean, I remember it was probably 2 or 3 years ago, and there was a gentleman here who I didn't know. And every person is a potential donor as far as I am concerned. So there was this man here who was leaning on the fence and looking out, and I didn't know who he was. So I introduced myself, and he was going, wow, wow. And I'm saying, you know, and I didn't know why he was there, who he was. He said, so he must have known us, because he said, I thought you were an organization that had a big barn out in the back and you were breeding puppies. This is like unbelievable. You know, so, you know, I think it's very important to develop the relationships and get your mentors out as soon as possible as you're going through the process, so they can really see what's going on.
Right.
You know, it's kind of easier for us here, because we're all, you know, our mission is extremely easy. We don't have programs. We're laser focused on one thing. And if we get people here, you know, even our coaches, they can better help us. And I would imagine that for some organizations that might be hard, but for others, you know, when you're helping, like Reggie's organization does, helping kids out in, you know, out in the area, you know, that the coaches could benefit from seeing what the organization has done and is doing, and get them more enthused about the organization.
Man, because you hit a spot that was sensitive on the end with me, our organization has a part of its core values, the 3 R's, respect, relevancy, and relationship. Respect, relevancy, and relationship. And coming into the experience, I think that if the coaches understand that there's, you know, this is new for all of us too, in addition to, and we don't know where we're coming from the spot of life. And you guys won't believe this. You guys, well, y'all believe it because all of y'all saw me break down the second time when I went up to try to tell the truth about my life. Mm-hmm. That part of reality is where I was like, you know, it was the moment for me and my coach, my team, to get together and me to say, hey, wait a minute. I'm learning myself in the moment. This is real life, in addition to, and we all took a breath and laughed at some of us and had great conversations. And then from there, I felt like I was being coached, but nurtured at the same time to allow me the space to be transparent. Because, you know, the shock for me was the first time I looked up and said, I never told anybody outside of my core group in 20 years some of the things I shared with y'all. Mm-hmm. And that was an important moment. So respect, relevancy, relationship, I think it ultimately crafted and helped me become my best transparency. And so either way, that's some things that I would recommend that they
Heather, I'd like to ask a question to the other people on the phone, on the call.
Absolutely.
You guys, how did you find the information or what was given to you by the college kids? Did you find that they helped? Did they, you know, I mean, unfortunately.
Are you referencing the student ambassadors?
Yes, yes.
So just kind of what the interaction was.
Yeah,
the feedback
did they offer any feedback? Did they show up, et cetera, et cetera? Did every team have one, Heather?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so.
We didn't get to see ours. I mean, maybe she came to one meeting.
Yeah, this is Harrison. We had 15, I think, this year. We didn't quite have 20. And we are, you know, it's always when it works the best, or when we have a professor that's teaching a class in philanthropy and those kids get really motivated and get really plugged in. There's a professor at Davidson that has taught that class every other year. This was not a year when he was teaching the class, unfortunately. And so we had to struggle a little bit more. It's hard for us. Usually, if you look back at the reviews, maybe 15 of the 20, when we have 20, did really well. We don't make them go through a strict process. We don't grade them. And so there are always a few that we haven't quite figured out how to make it work 100% every time. Yeah, we haven't figured it out. That's right. Thank you.
If not, Mr. Harrison, you don't mind putting us on the spot in the moment.
Can I make a comment about Alexis, the pitch prof, though, who gave us our first training?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've since developed a relationship with her as well. She asked me to write a testimonial for her website, and I've spoken with her a few times. And she, I think, is amazing. I mean, I know you probably all think the same thing, but she should definitely come back every year, because I took, I think, 8 pages of notes on what she said.
Yeah.
And it immediately calmed me down about public speaking and made me think that I can definitely do this.
I agree 100%.
I just want to give a shout out to Alexis.
But good.
I agree.
Yep.
I took
Great.
about the same amount of notes. Go ahead, sorry. It's great. I think that was a great piece of I learned a lot in that session where she was doing the PowerPoint slides. I took and copied a lot, and it really did over time. Kimberly, it helped me settle too. I thought that was. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't think about it, but that was great.
I actually called her after it was over to see if I could work with her, and if she'd come to a board meeting, I'd pay her for consulting, but talk to my board members, about, how to talk to people about what they represent. She was great, and I liked her from the moment, she finished her conversation or presentation, and I would suggest that she is there again next year and every year thereafter.
Good to hear. Thanks
I'm
for that
sure she
feedback.
would love to hear that. Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Harrison, keep Mr. Harrison on too while shots are being drawn, because that was
Hey, Reggie, I'm trying to keep Harrison on all the time. Like, we're not
reminded me of every corporate exec I've ever worked for in the private sector. Regional executive, he got the whole thing going on. It helped me through.
Thank you.
The entire experience was just amazing.
Yeah.
And that's my final thing to say. I mean, just like they all said, I learned a lot about myself. I have so much more confidence in myself now and my ability to tell our story, and just in myself in general. I feel like it was so amazing. So thank you all so much. It was just such a great experience.
Absolutely. So I am going to wrap us up just in the interest of time, to be respectful of everybody's time, especially on a weeknight. But we are thrilled to announce, looking forward, we are thrilled to announce our 10th year of SEED20. And our date will be April 15th, 2021. I'm also excited to share that SVP partner Debbie Darden will be the lead partner for SEED2021. Debbie was part of the original team of partners that brought the fast pitch concept to Charlotte. And we're very excited to have her come full circle for the 10th year celebration. So, and as always, here's my shameless plug of, if you would like to be involved further with SEED20, I would love to connect with you. We've heard some great stories about being a coach, about being sponsors, and also just about sharing with SEED20 out in the community to other nonprofits, or to invite individuals you think would enjoy the event. So you have my contact information, and we'll share this slide deck along with the recording. And so lastly, I would say, if you would like to see the 4 nonprofit presentations that you've talked to tonight, or any part of the SEED20 online program, again, I have the link listed for you as well. Any other questions, anything, any last minute shares that anybody'd like to do? Yes, Reggie.
Just make sure we get a chance to get that collaboration together where we somehow show up together. If y'all finish it out with that, either this year, next year, it doesn't matter. But I am so looking forward to have an opportunity to celebrate with you all in person.
I hear you. I hear you. We're going to do our best for that. We were talking about that today. So we're getting very, very creative in what our fall looks like to wrap up the 2020 season. So, thank you all so much again for joining us this evening, and I hope you and your loved ones stay safe and healthy during this time, and make sure to take care of yourselves while you're taking care of others.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Great
Congratulations.
to see everybody.
Thank you.
Yay. Good job, guys.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, well done. Well done. Ah,
It's always interesting, right? Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment.
Hold on. Wait for it. There we go.
I wanted to be like this because that's usually how I talk to my mother. It's always this. I see her face or I'm up her nose.
can I just, okay, is Jen listening or just,
You need to stop recording.
oh.